Coming up, a hero's welcome for 3 Americans freed from North Korea. But is President Trump getting the credit he deserves for bringing them home or making progress on a peace deal with the Koreans? Plus, Caps fans popping champagne like they won a championship ring. And all they did was beat Pittsburgh in the playoffs. So when did it become okay to celebrate teams living up to their potential? Or are DC fans just used to settling? And later, who cares what Meghan Markle's wearing to the wedding? The latest royal drama is all about Harry's beard. We'll tell you why. Like It or Not starts right now. Hey there, with Guy Lambert and Britt McHenry. I'm Bram Weinstein. Got some nice facial hair.
Yeah.
Yeah?
I've been working on it for a while.
What if the wife told you, gotta go?
Then it would have to go.
Then
happy wife, happy life.
Oh, is that right?
Hey, that's the way it works.
Playoff beard. I'm just thinking about it. Hockey.
Playoff beard? Yeah. Playoff beard, yeah. Let's check what's trending. And first up, as usual, it is, of course, President Trump. He is far from the optimal person who would define the word diplomacy. But every once in a while, fist bumps are deserved. And the other night, there were 3 prisoners from a North Korean jail deboarding a plane on American soil. In this Twitter speed news cycle, there were immediate calls for a Nobel Peace Prize, which seems a bit much for now. But should a planned summit with Kim Jong-un continue to stabilize world relations, there's a big maybe attached to that. So, like it or not, the president deserves some daps for cooling off the rocket man.
Yes. I mean, look, you can dislike Trump. I'm sure many people watching do. But this was historical. And for those 3 men to be back on U.S. soil, I don't care what your political allegiance is, you should be cheering for that. Yeah. And to have this meeting June 12th in Singapore, I mean, when's the last time a president did that? Meet with Kim Jong-un?
Long time. Yeah.
So at least give him some credit.
They've tried. He hasn't shown up to some of them. So that's some interesting reporting where they say, when was the last time a president did this? It's not like the first time that they've tried to engage in talks with the North Koreans.
So have tough talks.
Right.
Don't enable them like Bill Clinton did back in the 90s to create the nuclear program they have today, and put the sanctions on, and fortunately China's helped out, and that's all kind of happening in the short term right now.
This is a good thing and bad thing. Good thing with regard to the detainees being back on American soil. Kudos, congratulations. Bad thing because we all know that with liberals, they've always extended the olive branch. Democrats have always extended the olive branch. Well, not the case with conservatives. It's been peace through strength. However, this time, guess who's exhibiting the strength? The president of North Korea. He's the one that's doing the missile test. He's the one that now has nuclear capabilities. So in essence, he's the one that's really running the show, not Trump.
Can I ask one simple question, though? Who isn't praising him for this? Like, where does this come from that people
CNN?
think he's not praising him for bringing prisoners home? Yeah. They actually said that on TV.
I have seen several tweets from verified accounts. David Hogg from Parkland, I'm not attacking him, but I would say he was one of them to jump in and say, congratulations, but how about you do this, this, and this, and this? I feel like there's never any real credit.
But we forget the part, congratulations.
Yeah.
So why if Obama was doing this, they'd have a parade on Constitution Avenue.
Oh,
yes.
I tell you one thing
not
that
on
wouldn't
Fox
happen.
News, they wouldn't.
Right. And had Obama done that, he wouldn't have said, hey, the best TV ratings at 3 a.m. in the morning. You're watching me right now. Wouldn't have happened.
So you're saying conservatives act through strength? No. I'm very diplomatic.
Peace through strength. Very much so.
As Bram laughs.
Should I give you the olive branch?
Yeah.
Next up, John McCain. The Arizona senator has been battling a brain tumor and reportedly planning his own funeral. Apparently not making the list, President Trump. The 2 men have been at odds since the 2016 campaign and have butted heads over White House policies, including the president's pick for CIA director. But who cares? He's dying anyway. At least that's what White House aide Kelly Sadler said. She made the comment during a private meeting this week. The White House later released a statement saying it respects Senator McCain. So, like it or not, has decency finally hit rock bottom like Joe Biden says?
Yes, it has. I can't wait for the day that comes that we just start having a general nice discourse with one another again, and a respectful one at that. You know, who was the person who went on the air and said something that torture works because it made John McCain sing after he was a POW in a foreign land for over 5 years? Give me a break. Like, come on. This man's a war hero. Yeah. Can we respect his legacy on any level whatsoever and stop politicizing his untimely death? This is horrible.
I spoke to a few people who work in the White House, and they were themselves disgusted with those remarks. And they said it was such a positive week. Finally, there was a lot of really good press, and then this happens. And decency went out the window. That's such an idiotic comment to make. If you have anyone that's suffering from cancer, you've lost to cancer. I recently had a relative pass away. It's just cruel. And I really feel for Meghan McCain and Cindy McCain that they have to go through this.
Yes.
What
he
happened
fought
to
for
an
this
apology?
country. Right.
And then, for me, this really starts at the top and trickles down. We know that the president has been saying bad things about John McCain for quite some time now. And, well, the young lady, Miss Sadler, just felt comfortable saying that in that room at that time.
You know what's critical, too? I was reading about this. It's sick to think this way, but if he passes away before June, then the GOP will keep that seat until 2020. So operatives around him already, I just feel for the family that it's become this political game. And if something happens in May, then the seat would go up for re-election around midterm. So I just really feel for the family that they have to deal with insults, attacks, and GOP operatives. It's unfortunate.
Let's all be best, speaking of. With everything that happens daily, it's hard to remember that Melania Trump's targeted issue some year and a half ago was cyberbullying. The anti-trolls had tears of hypocritical laughter. But that did not stop her from moving forward with Be Best. And earlier this week, the initiative to help control the trolls and generally offer ways to improve our daily discourse was unveiled. This hasn't stopped her adult husband from ignoring it, but maybe that's just the best he can be. So like it or not, LOL, Mel, LOL.
I like it. Her approval polls have gone up. Look, no matter what you think of President Trump, this is a serious issue. Have you gotten vile, nasty comments on Twitter?
Oh, by far, yeah.
Have you gotten vile, nasty comments on Twitter?
Well, yes, but
the amount of C-word tweets
Yes.
I've gotten,
Wow.
I'd be rich if I had $1 for each one. So I like the initiative, and people just need to lay off of her.
Hypocrisy to the fullest. Come
Not
on,
guy.
look at what her husband does day in and day out with regard to what he says on Twitter. Second of all, how about be original? If we all can recall, the former First Lady, Michelle Obama, sat down with Oprah, and Oprah said, hey, be better to all the gentlemen in the workplace. Now we have Be Best?
Yeah.
How about be original?
I mean, top of my head, there's
I like Be Best.
There's crying Chuck Schumer, there's the bleeding face woman from
Little Marco.
right, Little Marco, there's the Rocket Man. And that's just off the Fat Pig, who's Rosie, right? So that's just top of my head of what's come from her husband's
But should you be
Twitter
blamed for
feed.
things that your wife does or says all the time? Can we separate individuals? Can we separate kids from the father?
I suppose.
Spouses? I mean, she's trying
But the
to do
person in her
something
own
positive.
house doesn't respect the initiative, I guess is really the point here.
He loves some Twitter. He respects
And that's
that.
the bottom line. It's a discourse on race and violence in America set to a dance track. Like it or not, we're talking about Childish Gambino's provocative new video coming up next. When it comes to new music, you guys stay woke.
I hate that phrase.
She does. Kinda.
Donald Glover on top of the world right now. Atlanta just wrapped up its second season. Solo hits theaters next week, and he just hosted Saturday Night Live. Oh, by the way, 75 million people have watched the video for This Is America in just 5 days. Glover dropped the video moments after performing it live on SNL, and immediately it went viral, both because of the music and the powerful images it contains. The video is a commentary on the state of the country and how we address issues like terrorism, race, and gun violence. So, like it or not. Have you seen the video?
It's troubling. I mean, it's actually disturbing to watch it. I think it has very serious messages behind it. It kind of harkens me back to the 1980s. And Public Enemy came out, and there was a lot of discussion about some, music that had really kind of taken over the airwaves and had changed your thought process about things. And I will say this, too, for Glover himself. I don't know if they do awards for a performance in something, but it's really unbelievable, the performance he does here. And the way that he handles gun violence in this, I think is quite apropos for what is happening right now and the way we treat and react to gun violence. And I think it's important.
Why do you like it that much?
I like it because I think it is a very powerful statement of we are letting things just happen and then letting them go way too quickly, that we are not taking the time to really consider how to make positive change. We're just moving on to the next thing. And that's where I think there's a disconnect between what we see on social media, which is the bubble we apparently live in, and what the real world is that doesn't move that quickly.
This is an evolution of hip-hop. I'm really glad that they're focusing on this, he being Daniel Glover or Childish Gambino.
Yeah.
You know, so many times hip-hop, you're talking about girls, cars, and all the money I have. This is addressing a serious issue within our country.
Yeah, and it's troubling. I will say this, for children, it's a very troubling thing. So if you're watching this and you're thinking about watching it, be very careful. The images in some of it are really disturbing. Yeah. All right, DC sports teams have incredible talent. You could watch the Caps if you want to. They're good theater. They also consistently underperform, and after decades of losing, have DC sports fans learned to settle for less than the best? Like it or not, we're back after this.
Yes.
Like a lot.
Excessively.
Excessively.
I have watched the team video that they made. You see that? It's like 5 minutes long. If you haven't, look for it on Twitter. It's so good. Like 100 times I watched it.
It's a Cap love fest.
The anguish, it's time for it to end. They're overdue. Long-suffering Capitals fans, like myself and Britt, almost couldn't believe what we were seeing the other night. They were winning in Pittsburgh in an elimination game. It's mind-blowing because the Caps had played the Penguins 10 times in the postseason, and they beat them once. And so this victory now represented the first Washington team to be in a professional Final Four since the late 1990s. Amazing, right? The predictable joy got fun-sponged by former Post columnist Michael Wilbon, who, and this is not new, called D.C. a minor league sports city on Pardon the Interruption for celebrating something that doesn't include a title. So, like it or not, should the reaction to be like, we won, whatever.
All right, this is coming from Michael Wilbon, who I adore. He's one of our friends. He will ride or die with the Chicago Bears, okay? So let's pump the brakes on hating. This is a great moment. And you know what? Unpopular opinion, I want them to win the Cup. If they don't, they finally, after a decade of being involved in covering this team, made it to the Eastern Conference Finals, because people don't understand the Penguins are a good team. They won the entire
Cup 2
thing.
years in a row.
Yes, so like
every year the Penguins had won the Stanley Cup, they beat the Capitals on their way to it. Right?
It always should have been the Eastern Conference Final with the Penguins and Capitals.
Yes, it should have been.
And back when, it would have been. They changed the seeding. So really, they kept getting out of the second round when they were always the two best teams in the East. This year, however, I don't know if that's the case. I'm a little worried about that.
As a guy who's not a big Caps fan, this was a big deal. No, seriously. Think about it. You got the Caps, they always flop. The Nats, they always flop. The Skins, they always flop. And let's not even talk about the Wizards. So, yeah, for this to happen in D.C., hooray, going out to the Caps.
I want to talk about Wilbon for a moment. I found what he said offensive. To us, to the people who grew up here, who have rooted for these teams our entire lives, it's offensive, all right? In Philadelphia, they greased the polls before the Super Bowl, not after they won the Super Bowl. And for his beloved Cubs, go look at the celebration when they got to the World Series, not just when they won the World Series. We have been waiting a long time here, and I found it offensive because he has reached the heights of his career by working at the Washington Post. So if it never mattered here, he wouldn't have mattered in the national conversation. And I don't appreciate that he's looked at us as we're some second-rate sports city. It's just not true. It's patently false. We happen to be a transient town who is educated and have other things happening here, but it doesn't mean we don't care about these teams. And we should have celebrated the other night. It's been a long time for that to happen.
I feel like a talking head or pundit who's never really competitively played sports, and I love you, Mike, but to say that when we have Steven Strasburg making $175 million, we have a 3-time Cy Young winner, that's Max Scherzer, down at Nats Park, and the greatest goal scorer perhaps to ever live in Alex Ovechkin. There's nothing minor league.
Nobody's talking about trading Bryce Harper. They're trying to sign him. He's the most important person in baseball. This is far from a minor league sports town. It's as major league as it gets, and it should be recognized.
Can I just keep doing the
cool down? Cool down.
Touch the subject for me.
His Nets off celebration. Woosah.
Hey, we're coming to you from the nation's capital. So this story hits close to home. The question, is D.C. cool? The answer has social media divided.
Great.
The debate ignited by an editorial in the Washington Post. In it, the writer documents the way Washington has changed over the past 10 years or so, using developments like the restaurants and bars along 14th Street, 8th Street, and the Wharf as examples of the newfound cool kid status. But for some people, D.C. will always be a city full of political wonks and tourists. So like it or not, is D.C. finally cool?
I mean, look, I love this city. I love this city.
You can live anywhere you want. How could you say no?
We can't. You know, we work in certain cities in this business. No, I love DC. It's clean. There's a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Clarendon really has developed with Scott Parker and some of those guys who own the GOAT, Don Tito. Not that I go to any bars. And the Wharf is beautiful, but I'm not going to go with it's a cool city.
Well, not the coolest.
The coolest.
City, but...
I'll say it the coolest.
Well, I don't think anyone
Bram
said
is like sending death glares.
No, it's, look, there's a lot of places I think are great to go. I think this is, I grew up here, so I'm biased, obviously, and I moved back here. Like, I wanted to be back here. So I want this place to be perceived as a certain way, and I think it has improved significantly through the years. There used to be only a few separate areas that people really would go to. Now it's a much more wide open city, and I actually think it feels a little LA-ish in that
it really does.
You go all these different places, and all of a sudden you're kind of in a new area, and the traffic is involved, and there's different terrains, and there's all these areas that are worth now visiting. I think it is. And if you point back to, well, we have all the wonks here, well, then you have all the Wall Street idiots up in New York. So does that make New York uncool? No. No one would ever say something
And
like
I'm glad you touched on that. New York and money, cool. L.A., beauty and money, cool. D.C., government and money, hence we're govsters. Very cool.
I will say with all the development, what's sad is Georgetown has declined a bit because the city center was developed. The Wharf has been developed, which is great for the overall city, but sometimes I miss the old, like I still go to Martin's, and I miss that old vibe.
That's because
JFK
Martin's
proposed
is
there.
cool.
It is. Love you, Martins. All right, well, from Martins to cheerleaders. Yes, we are, and I am talking about this for the second week in a row. This time, instead of talking about the pros, we're talking about high schoolers and the outrage that ensued when one girl got cut from the squad. A parent complained, shocker. So the school decided that was enough. They eliminated tryouts and the skill requirement to make the team. Now, anyone can join in their safe spaces. The school says that makes teamwork more inclusive, but when parents and students push back, the principal threatened to eliminate the program altogether. So the students took their complaint straight to the school board.
I tried my hardest, and everything's going away, all because of one child who did not make the team, and their parent complained. So now, all my hard work has been thrown out the window.
Okay, so I brought these tissues as a joke. They're not for the girl crying. These are for all of the snowflakes who think you need to have no competition in life. I was a D1 athlete. I didn't make the varsity soccer squad when I was a freshman, and you know what? It built character.
Yeah. It really did. Well, look at your...
Bram's like, why did you bring tissues out?
I want to know why that woman was crying. That's really what I want to know.
There's
crying
no
about
crying
what?
in cheerleading?
No. No, there's no crying in cheerleading. Yes, you should have to compete for a job. No, not everybody should be the cheerleader. And there's no professional track in cheerleading anyways.
Right.
Get over it and move on to something else.
Yes.
Yeah.
You heard us.
Women love a man in uniform. Maybe not that woman, but
Oh, I do.
Men usually look better with beards, or so I'm told. And those two things don't line up for Prince Harry in a week. Like it or not, we're talking about the royal wedding and a facial hair debate. That's next. You know, in about a week, we're going to have an American princess.
Wow.
A real one.
I mean, I think I'm a princess. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
No, you're not.
I'm kidding.
She is for real.
Yeah, she's the real one.
Finally tonight, Prince Harry has got some dashing American looks going on these days as he gets set to marry one of our homies, Meghan Markle, in 1 week. But the Brits aren't so into the hipster look at ye olde royal wedding. Soldiers are not allowed to wear beards when wearing the uniform, and the uniform is the traditional item worn by the prince for the royal wedding. So Harry is going to have to cut that beard off, at least according to tradition. The sixth in line to the throne has worn one of his military uniforms with the beard before, but he got a lot of backlash for doing so. So like it or not, time to break out the razor, Harry, even if he looks better with the beard.
I don't like it. Men, you look great with facial hair. I am partial to the facial hair. Now it's getting awkward. But also, too, with him wearing the uniform with the beard before, he's a prince. Like, rules don't apply to him.
Yeah, I'm going with Britt on that one.
Yeah.
The hell with whatever the rules say. You're the prince. If you want to wear a beard, damn it, wear a beard.
Yeah.
What rules are there if you're the prince? I'm the prince. I can do whatever I want.
Right.
Did you remember I'm the prince? So I'll do whatever I want here. I write the rules. Right, Mommy? And Mommy goes, So, like, that's what happens in this scenario.
By the way, he's kind of lucky that he can actually grow a full beard. Some guys, you know, myself included, we have a hard time doing that.
If I try to grow a beard, it looks like a cat licked my face for an hour. Okay, so like it never looks right. Yeah.
I legitimately once went on a first date, and the guy had cut his beard beforehand, and
Did you know he had it before?
Yeah, and he cut it, and so like I opened the car door, and I felt bad because I
made that
like,
look?
oh, yeah. I love beards.
There's really nothing worse than on the first date when the girl sees you and looks like that and goes,
Yeah.
I don't really buy into the royal wedding buzz. I mean, they're not even
mean?
like, at least with Kate and William, they one day theoretically will be king and queen. Just the hysteria over.
Are you trolling Harry and Meghan?
I am.
Wow.
I am. But
They're not even married yet.
Right.
Do you think we'd have this kind of celebration if it was one of the Trump kids?
Britt, be best.
Yeah. Or in this case, be better.
Be best.
This is where they're like, all right, wrap
Just
guys.
be best. And we'll see you all next week.